show. Now, this isn't a cast battle. This is the results of a cast battle. I was outside today. I planned on going out there with the, camera on my chesty and showing you guys what was going on. It is too cold. What I had to do was I had to basically go out with one rod, one reel, one bait, cast it, get my measurements roughly, come back in, back and forth. So although I know technically, scientifically, not 100% on that, and as far as you guys can't see it, this video is to show you my overall results, how well these magnet tricks work that we did on the new reels. Also, I had a few people ask me about how this MK9 cast, and as far as our LingL with an actual spool that weighs what it's supposed to. And we did, those are the Roro bearings. It's got Roro bearings. So it's kind of like cheating, right? So I also wanted to show you guys, that is that new handle. If you guys watch that video, how I make my own single lifestyle handle knob, that's the handle off of, that cut down and fixed on the LingL. So I'm kind of thinking I don't know, the LingL kind of looks good with any of them on the knobs or handles. But anyway, and then this crazy thing. Do you guys remember this reel? I did finally do the conversion. I converted it over. That is a PW100 at heart, more or less, the frame. That is the side plates off of the, in the front nose, off the Spirit Fox. So that is a weird looking reel. I know, right? For our channel, that is like not norm for the other reels. But this reel is still a good, very good reel. We still will be using it. Then also, just for myself, kind of wanted to see what this SV spool is capable of. Kind of putting it up against the LingL, because the LingL, like I thought, and we still got a cast test to do, because I didn't go very high in weights, and I'll talk about that in a minute, to see just how capable, where the weight difference on BFS or this new SV Boost really makes a difference for if you've got a BFS or if you've got the SV Boost. So let's jump right to what results I found. Now, everybody could be a little different, and I was throwing, all these were thrown with the same line, and I've already cut it up because I got frustrated with using it. But look, I'll show you if you remember that black dark braid, I got it from Charles a while back, and I just kind of been using it on tests and different stuff because it does cast good. That is a very good line. I'm not sure what brand that is, but that color is the most horrible color to deal with when you're trying to take out backlash knots and stuff. It's just so dark and it's so hard to tell what's going on. But it is a very good line. It works good. I like it. I need to ask Charles what brand that was and see if I want to buy any of it or not. But in further videos, I'm probably just going to put the regular whatever line I plan on running, which will more likely be the Proberos I just picked up in 10-pound camo or blue camo 10-pound braid. And I'm probably going to get some 15-pound because I don't think I want to run, throw half-ounce chatterbaits with 10-pound. I mean, I could put a 15-pound leader on 10-pound braid. Might be doable, but not if I set the drag very tight. So anyway, let me just ask you guys, is anybody, I don't know, is there any videos out with these two guys in a cast battle yet? Because technically they're the same reel, and scientifically they're not. There's differences, right? Different bearings, different spool weights. Technically the braking system should be exactly the same, but we've got different spools as far as the weights of the spools, and different bearings as far as ceramic bearings, lighter spool, but regular bearings. So which one, if anybody done a test yet, which one do you guys think can throw a trout magnet? Because the ultimate test for these is to throw a trout magnet, right? So that's what I did. I went out there and I threw this. And I'm going to show you the weight, and while I'm on it, can you guys see that? Hopefully you can see that. So this thing does not weigh a gram. It's 0.956. Not quite 1 gram trout magnet. Now I did make my own. I call these my grubs. They're not really trout magnet. You see that one weighs just a touch heavier, I think. And this one weighs, they're all right there close. They're just either right at a gram or just under a gram. Most of them are just under a gram. So I basically have my own baits to throw because I don't plan on buying more trout magnets. This thing typically starts to get a little lighter and lighter. So anyway, that's what that's for. Whenever I want to do trout magnet deals, I wanted to have a backup in case I lose this one. I can just throw on one of these. As you can tell, I just showed you they're roughly the same exact weight. So I now have 3 of those to test. So which one do you think threw that better? And while you're thinking of it, think hard. Which one? Lighter spool, better, technically supposed to be better bearings. Which one you think can throw a trout magnet further? All right, well, while you're thinking, I'm going to show you this bait, because this is what you're going to see coming up on the show. You won't see a lot of this. This is about done. Trout magnets are about done because I don't throw them. I don't fish with the trout magnet. I don't even hardly fish with this. This guy right here, I hardly ever fish. I do occasionally, and you'll see me. Me and Charles, I plan on doing some crappie fishing, but not a lot. And you can see that thing weighs almost 2 grams. It's just over 1/16 of an ounce. So you got a 1/16 ounce crappie jig head with the little crappie skirt, right? That is when I do, that's as low as I used to ever go out crappie fishing. A lot of times I run an 1/8, which is, and this one's all beat up from casting. 1/8 with either the same size or a little bit bigger. I might try different baits. But there's what, almost 4 grams. And you can really fling this out there. And you'd be surprised, and sometimes the bigger one is what they want. And I think a lot of times it's just the weight, because you can always put the little skirt. When you're reeling with the bait caster or crappie fishing, they're typically higher geared than anything else you've used for crappie fishing. So you kind of want to reel it slower, and the heavier bait almost lets it stay down. That lighter bait tends right up. But anyway, that's crappie fishing. But you will see that bait occasionally being thrown. But here's the ones in my test, and I added a little bit of weight here because instead of having a hook on there, because they do get caught up, and I tried to bend this one in. I tried to get a couple baits, so in case I lose one, I want to have a backup and not waste my other one. So 1.6. These are basically anywhere from 1.5 to 1.7. So 1.6, 1.61. So we have the same identical weights. They look a touch different, but that's what you'll see me more or less starting with, because I do throw these quite a bit when we go to little creeks and streams. I hardly ever throw them at like the pits and ponds, and definitely you won't see me going to any kind of lake fishing. But you get back in a little cove or something, you never know when you might want to throw one of those. So they will be going in the test, tests that are coming up on the channel. You'll see that's kind of where my breaking line is, where it starts. But then where I really start throwing, because I'll throw these all over. I'll throw these in the little creeks, up in the deals, and this is roughly the weight of some of those poppers and all that kind of stuff. Like the Sonoras. 3.7, almost, well, if it had the hooks, it'd be just over 4 grams, but like almost 4 to 4.25 grams area right in that. I said 4.25 grams. That's not, no, don't do that. Anyway, so that will be a bait. We'll see which ones can cast that. And that's where I'm thinking right here. Because if you remember right, and this is the like Dr. Frankenstein with hooks is about the same weight as this. The Sonora poppers I like throwing. This little square bill here itself. And that's where I guess my kind of BFS starts and goes on all different waters. You'll see me fishing with baits roughly that weight. Roughly around 4 grams. Or a little over, which is a little over 1/8 of an ounce. But then I've also got into throwing a lot of the kind of like, this is smaller than the Digit, but Digit size and smaller. So that's like 6.5 grams to 7 and 8 grams, but anywhere just that area, where technically you could probably get a little distance on a standard bait caster, but you would not get far in our BFS stuff. We'll zing these baits out there real far, and these are awesome little baits. So you'll see this coming up in test, and what you'll see coming up on I'm going to have this Zillion versus the BFS World. SV Boost versus the BFS World. Where does one of your most highly tuned, finessey, high-end type reel spools kick in to where BFS, the weight get high enough? Is it 4 grams? Is it 6 grams? Is it 8 grams? Where can they just totally this outdoes all your BFS stuff. Surely it's not 2 grams, right? You know, surely I can't go out here with the crappie jig and throw it further with this, right? No, I can already tell you right now, no, I can't. But until I do further testing, I'd almost swear I can get as much distance with this Zillion SV Boost with, now not spooled all the way and not with regular line, but with braid, about half spooled or like the 30, if you guys remember that test. So basically what an Aldebaran 30 will hold, I put on this, and that's what I plan on fishing with. I got it sitting over here on a spool just ready to put back on. I could have swore the day I was out doing a little test cast with versus the LingL and the Aldebaran 30 that I was getting the same distance with roughly this size bait with this reel. So I'm gonna basically go out there with, I'll probably have a little shootout between a few reels and see which one can cast this size and, you know, maybe these two combined, you know, to be all around. Like, will the Black Knight 2 or the Dark Wolf cast this further than the LingL, or does the LingL kick in? And I think it will, but who knows. But then I'm going to put it up against that SV spool. And we've already seen in my testing anyway, this SV spool beats all the other like basic regular spools. The Aldebaran 30 MGL spool, and I'm pretty sure it'll smoke any regular SV spool, even the newest Alpha's SV spool doesn't have boost. I think it's the boost is what's really doing it, and I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so anybody got an answer yet? I want to wrap this video up. You guys know I like short videos. Come on, somebody. Nobody's commenting. Nobody's got an answer. You want to know? With this test anyway, and how I cast and what I had them doing, I cast the trout magnet. Now I put that, like I said, I put that black line just enough for basically, if you remember right out in the street, the other side of the street is 70 foot. So probably only about 75 foot of that braid, close to 100. But that's all the braid I had on either one of these, and I was casting that trout magnet out. Which one went further? Anybody? Well, let me just show you this. With both of them, you guys see where that setting is? Just 1 past 3. Now, I will tell you this. I was out here throwing this before I went to the trout magnet, and I could actually go lighter. So my plan was to set them to this and then try, you know, see how much of a set it and forget it they are. And so I started out one before 3, but I ended up, once I did throw the trout magnet, I'm pretty sure they both, where did I end up with that guy? Yeah, see that? The dial's a little the way it works, but 1, so like 3 and 1 click. And that's where I ended up on both. And they both were the same way. I threw that little crank. I was 1 before 3, and I ended up, so basically 2 clicks, and I was like 3 and then 1 past 3 with both reels on baits like this. I was there. I had to go 2 clicks tighter on the brakes to throw a trout magnet, which is, if you guys have followed the whole Black Knight 2 Dark Wolf Ultra, whether it be on this channel or wherever, and you just come across this, that is actually excellent news. Because if you remember right, you could crank these drags or the magnetic braking system as far as you wanted to go, and if you cast hard enough, you'd backlash. Well, I can tell you right now, you can cast pretty hard at that brake setting right there, and you're not going to backlash. Now, yeah, you goof up or wind blows in your face, you might have a fluff up. But that braking system, as far as I'm concerned, is fixed now. Those little 0.5 magnets, 0.5 millimeter. Watch that video if you don't know how to put them in. I mean, they're easy to put in, but you want to leave the 1 out. So you're only going to put 6 magnets in. It fixed these reels. These reels are now fixed, but this was a battle. Which one won? Who's going to answer the question? I'm going to answer it right now. Well, after somebody just messaged. Getting a Spirit Fox today as a loaner, how are they? Well, Spirit Foxes are okay. This isn't a Spirit Fox. This is, well, it sort of is, but it's not. It's got the upgraded, it's a gram lighter spool than your Spirit Fox. So this is awesome. This is like right there, close to LingL quality as far as baits it'll throw. It won't go down quite as low as like these You know, it won't throw a 1 gram trout magnet worth the darn. It'll fling these out real good, almost as good as a LingL. This reel, the Spirit Fox, look at this. The Spirit Fox is not bad. I'd put it like where this MK9, as I'm getting ready to talk about, is. I'd put it with the all your older stuff. The original Black Knight, the MK9's right there. The names escape me. The reel I just sold one of the reels too. The Zephyr, the Cast King Zephyr. You know, all those, the GH100, they're all good reels, but the newest stuff out now, it's gotten lighter spools. Not real necessarily the braking. We fixed the braking on these. If you guys haven't, the Fishing Discoveries, Paul was one of the first ones that had them. I don't know how he got them that fast, but he had the magnets to put in, so we all figured that part out. You might have to fine tune it. But the Spirit Fox, it's a good reel, but like it's not a reel I recommend anymore. Like I don't recommend this reel if you're wanting to throw real lightweight baits. But if you've already got a LingL and you just kind of want to get a couple more variants to throw regular gear or other, you know, lightweight baits like this, did I throw this with it? I think it'll throw that, but it won't throw it that great. It'll throw this real good. 4 grams, throws that real good. Real good reel for this. So yeah, what do you guys think? Who won? And then we're going to talk about some of the other reels and stuff that went down today while I was out there freezing my butt off. Yeah, 2 grams to 6 grams, it'll be all right. You know, just start with your brakes kind of tight and where you're going to have to kind of force the cast and then go from there. Because you'll be amazed, it's all about how people cast. I've noticed that, you know. Some days I'm not the same person I was the day before. I'll just get out and get antsy. And if you start casting real hard, dial your brakes a click or two tighter if you know. Because I can go out there and testing with the trout magnet, you kind of need to throw it hard. It's just so light, you almost have to put some force into it to get anything going. It's not like I could put that on any of these reels and you just kind of give it a flick, not a hard cast. And it'll spool up those little bitty ones so quick and fly out there. But then if you rear back and cast real hard, you may backlash. It's just one of those kind of deals. Yeah, the LingL. All right, I'm going to get to that in a minute. So here we go. I'm going to tell you which one won and why I think it won. Believe it or not, the Black Knight 2 redeems itself. This freaking reel just flat out casts that trout magnet so great compared to all the others. It's just got an easiness to it that this is close, but it's not as easy. And the only thing I can figure is it's got to be the spool bearings. I tried to get the spool tension the exact same. And if you watch the reel test, I didn't do it. I didn't weigh the spools out here to see exactly. I guess I could do that real quick with the bearings on. Now you got to take the bearing off because the real bearing and the ceramic bearings do way different. I don't want to go through all that hassle. But this is definitely lighter, but it's not that much lighter. If you watch the reel test, these come 6.4, like a low 6.4. This comes a 6.1, a high 6.1, almost 2. So you're only talking about 0.2, not a lot. If I found out with the LingL, mine was 0.5 heavier, and it makes a difference, but it's not huge. And I think the bearing difference made a bigger difference. So as I tell you that you can trust me when I say this one, and it didn't beat it, but maybe by 2 feet, but it just seems so much easier to get there. Like this one, I guess I was throwing pretty hard, but this one trying to throw harder, then it would start to backlash. So, but I ended up, that was the setting it liked. If I went 1 click to 3, it didn't help, and it only wanted to spool up, and I couldn't get any more distance no matter how hard I tried. But if I went to that same, and it was weird, the same settings, and I could throw about the same, you know, they still will backlash. If you try to throw like as hard as you can, you just whip the rod too much, you can still backlash at that setting, but it's pretty hard to do. You have to like almost mess up the cast. But any lighter than that with either reel, and you can just watch that thing fluffing up while bait was in the air, not even really doing anything wrong, and it's like, nah, that's too light. You got to go a little bit heavier. So, you know, one click more, and then you could just hear these things, those freaking the sound of these aren't near as bad as once they get bigger, because these are pretty small ceramic bearings. Once you get big ceramic bearings, I hate the sound. These are kind of tolerable, I guess. But this thing casts super quiet, but you can just feel it being restricted. So what I'm going to do, and I think it'll be fine because it's only by a few feet. So my plan is to get the bearings flushed out, and you know, I've got the Shimano BFS oil, and I'm just gonna put, I just put a little bit. I only put a little drop, like the littlest drop I can put on it, and then I'll go fish it. And then it's not a big deal, because if I didn't put too much, you'll hear it. You'll hear it like making a noise because they're so quiet. You'll hear any kind of noise. Put a little more in, because I don't like to put any more than I have to in. And that frees up a stock bearing as much as you can. So get some brake clean or whatever. Like this is what I use right here. I got it sitting right here. I use this to clean all my RC different stuff, you know. It's kind of one of those things that'll clean anything, but it won't mess up plastic or any plastic I've found so far. But it's a good stuff. It'll dry your hands out quicker than snot. But anyway, not quicker than snot, because snot's pretty not dry. But anyway, spray them out. Put just a drop of your thinnest BFS, some kind of BFS oil or whatever your oil you use, just the littlest bit, and get them suckers freed up. And I bet it'll be right there with it. But what I've found out after this test, and just by the tests I've done, the same thing with this LingL, that now that I put these Roro bearings in, because I was kind of like that. And if you guys haven't been watching my little video, me and Charles have been talking about my little video series that's out right now. I got one drop today, another one drops tomorrow, and the last one on Monday. But I was talking about bearings and my thoughts, and the more if you guys are wanting to cast down to these lightest baits, I think the bearings can make a huge difference. Now, if you're like me, and the only reason I'm really doing it is just so I'll have more content for the channel and help you guys out. But like when I go out and throw, but it'll help me in the creeks and streams. It'll help me throwing the little guys like this right here. You know, if you can justify spending 15, 20 bucks, whatever the bearings are, to be able to throw that just a little easier, then it's worth it. But when you come into like these baits and these baits, I'd almost bet that I can't tell a difference as far as any of these three reels. We'll fling this one, and then, you know, of course you can go up to a certain size to where then you have to stop its regular size baits. But it's when you're going down, I think those hybrid ceramic micro bearings are the way to go. You want the bearing as small, you want it as light, the balls as small and as light as they can be, just like you want the spool as light as it can be, and that's how you get your winner. That's how this thing beats everything. With this, it just does. It can go out there, and I'm casting them. It casts it easier, and it casts it further than that reel, which is basically the same thing. It's got to be in the bearings. But I'm gonna clean them out, and I'll do a rough. I won't probably do a whole nother test, but I'll talk about it. You know, out there one day, I'll mention if it seems to help or just seems the same. But I think it'll help a little. But so you know which one won. If you guys. You've heard me talk about them, and I still pick this as this is my favorite over the two now. It just overtook the Black Knight 2. But as far as the Black Knight 2 redeeming itself, this is definitely, oh, and I did single lifestyle, one of the Black Knight 2 handles. This is the one that originally came on the first one. It didn't have bearings. I put bearings in it. I've still got the original one that had bearings, because those are sweet. That was definitely good, nice, smooth. The tolerance is like perfect. There's no play. That's like high-end JDM knob bearing type feel. And it's on this one. It wasn't on the first one. The first one was horrible. It was gaps there, and there still is gaps on that. The bearings I put in it, for whatever reason, I didn't shim it. But the bearings they use, there must be a touch wider or something than the ones I had. But this original knob that came with the Black Knight 2 had bushings and was tight and funky, and, you know, literally night and day difference from the Black Knight 2. But that's an awesome handle with the knobs, like I said, the way it came. This one, I just went ahead and single lifestyled it. You guys have watched those videos on how you do it. Cut that sucker off. And all I did was just like I explained in the video. I used a cutoff wheel. I used just kind of a rougher grit sandpaper. Then I used a wet dry, that black stuff. I don't even remember exactly what is that, 400 grit maybe? Yeah, P400. Wet or dry is my final. I mean, that's all I feel I need. Good enough for the big girls I catch, right? So anyway, let's talk about that. We know that this is my pick of the overall. I don't know, it just palms better. I like the overall. I don't like the color. I wish they'd have done something a little bit different. But you can also do stuff like I did with this. I just changed it up just a little bit of color. And I mean, it works. It looks good. This still looks better to me. It definitely casts better, but it's just I think they've made it too sharp. I don't like the way they made that look. They changed out to this, what I call a cheaper, shiny black paint that I don't like as well as the original Black Knight myself. But very good reels. I don't plan on getting rid of them. But let's talk about this reel now. Would I pick one of these over this now that I fixed a brake issue? Nope, 100% no. This reel right here can flat cast too. Once you go to this bait, and I was out there casting it, like I said, I kind of tuned them up out there casting this, and then I went to the trout magnet and had to dial the brakes differently. Well, I took this out there with Roro bearings, granted, and still a spool that is technically not as light as it's supposed to be. It's 7.4, not 7.3 grams. It will cast this, I feel, as easy as this can, and as far as this can, and every bit as far as that can. This bait right here, the LingL. I'd almost swear, and I didn't have enough time, I had too cold of fingers to go get this one back out because I'd already brought these inside, but I was watching them hit. And the trout magnets were going like right even with the street. If you remember right, when I was using 2-pound line, I got that one to go out in the street. I got the Aldebaran BFS to hit right at the street. Well, with that braid and the way I was fishing, it's kind of rainy. We've got like mid 30s. It's going to be 40 degrees, but then it's rainy. It's like a drizzly. It's just everything's wet. And so with those combined deals, I was only getting the trout magnet to the street. It was hitting like right at the street. And I was only getting this guy about the middle of the street. So like 50 feet, I was probably throwing a trout magnet 50 feet with both of them with that braid and 6-pound leaders. And then I was throwing this probably 60 feet. I went out there with this and just within, and because I didn't take too many casts. Once I did that with those and played around, and my fingers were cold, so I'd come in, warm them up for a few minutes, go back out. I threw that thing out to the middle of the street like no problem. Shot right out there. So if it's already caught up to those with this weight, which is what I throw, this is going to have to be still the reel I recommend even over these for anybody wanting an all-around BFS reel. The best reel all-around you can get off AliExpress. Plus, I still think it looks better. I do think these look good. Build quality's kind of close on all of them, but I think this one just has an overall fit, finish, functionality. It just beats them all on just a touch. It's just that it's got the little bit heavier, bigger spool, but I actually like the bigger spool. I think if you can get a spool this size, as light as these spools, I think you'll smoke them. So I recommend that one. And what I'll try to do to see at some point, like I talked about with the SV spool, with these, is I want to know where, because if you remember right, I had the Aldebaran, not the Aldebaran, I keep saying Aldebaran. The Alpha's Air TW, I had that reel, and throwing the lightest, I can't remember what I had at the time, but I couldn't, it was like a one-hit wonder. It could throw the lightest stuff, and it felt like it was throwing stuff easier, but when then you started throwing harder and heavier baits, it fell off so quick, it was actually horrible. I had my ALC BF7, actually this exact spool right here, not the reel. Well, the frame and spool right here could smoke that Alpha's with once you got up into heavier baits. It just could. It was, I don't know, it was kind of weird. So yeah, this is still, even though I do like these way better now, and I put them real close, it's kind of up to you. If you're only throwing, you know, where's my crappie jig? Oh my God. If you're only throwing these kind of baits or lighter, as far as this, you know, you're throwing a 1 gram trout magnet, 1.5, you know, you're not going to go over 2 or say 3 grams, which I don't have any 3 gram baits here, but you know, if you throw something this big, you will be lucky and you don't go over, say, 4 grams, then yeah, you definitely want, you know, you don't want the LingL over these, because when you get down in there, these will throw stuff a little bit easier if you're only in them smaller little creeks and streams, micro fishing, whatever. But if you're like me and you're throwing a wide range, you know, you're going to go up to this. You're going to throw, you might even throw stuff that technically a regular bait caster can throw, but you're just throwing a lot of different stuff with your BFS setup. You know, you may get down to a crappie jig, you know, oh, hey, let's go crappie fishing, or hey, let's go hit a creek or stream, throw some of these. Let's throw some of these little square bills. You know, just imagine all the there's tons of baits you can throw. And then you're going here is like a steady, and then even beyond to, like, say, the dig it, 6, 8, even 10, up to, you know, quarter ounce. What's quarter ounce? 8, 9 grams, 10 gram baits. Definitely all day long. Just like I talk about, the Aldebaran BFS XG is still my favorite overall BFS reel. But as far as AliExpress, very affordable and good reels, the LingL. So let's talk about this real quick, and then I'm gonna get out of here. This reel, somebody had asked me, no, this is no comparison spool wise to the LingL. No comparison. And it's just spool weight and a little bit of the magnetic braking. So as I get out of here, I will show you real quick why. But can I recommend that reel? Yeah, that's still a very nice reel. You got to know what it's intended for. If you want something for kind of all around reel, BFS and regular gear, I'd go over that one. But this LingL, of course, that's a Roro spool, but just show you the difference. So now with the lighter with the lighter bearing, it's 7 grams with the bearing. The MK9 with this spool, and it's still right there. I'll tell you what it casts. That's at 9.4. You see the difference? Like at least 2, but it's closer to 2 gram difference, but it's showing on, according to this, almost 2.5 grams, but say 2 grams. That's a huge difference in your spool weight. So basically this is like the old school GH100 basically. But the difference is the braking system. See how it's got the old school, it's kind of more like a PW100 braking or whatever. That also, in my book, draws it down, you know, knocks it down a notch or two from what it's capable of casting. But what you also get, for those of you that haven't watched that video on the MK9, if you're wondering what reels he got there, this is an awesome reel. It's like 75 bucks also. It's roughly the same price as the LingL. You get this spool too. And it's only, you know, it's a very lightweight, not quite 12 gram spool. I think it's lighter than my SV Boost spool. So I know it's capable and it will cast very well also. So say you're like, oh, I want to dabble with BFS. I don't want to spend all that money though on just a BFS reel. I don't even want to spend $75 on a BFS reel. I don't know if I'll use it or not. Get this reel. Or the one you've seen me talk about, and I've got it coming, the Turquoise Fox. Is basically the same type thing. You get a BFS spool capable of throwing all kinds of baits, and you get this spool. Now you can use it for regular stuff. You can throw braid on it, or if you're a guy that wants, you know, you're bound and determined to throw fluorocarbon on your regular bait casters. That, I don't know how much it'll hold. It'll say in the thing, look it up on AliExpress, the MK9, but right side up would help. Whatever that says, can you guys read it? I can't even read that. I think it's focused, but I just can't read it. My plans are probably not even to use that. I'm going to put probably, I don't know if that spool will hold enough 15 pound. I may have to use this spool. I'm going to use 15 pound test. This reel more than likely will get regular duties, but it's also a possibility I'm going to put 10 pound camo on it and use it for on like the 661, because that throwing a 16th ounce with the shaky head, it's very doable. And then it's possible I'll put 15-pound braid, possibly even 20 on it. And then I can just switch out spools, put it on a different rod or whatever. It's kind of my workhorse that it's going to be going all around. We're going to kind of test out the framework since it's basically a LingL and see how, how stout, will they hold up to abuse? Because one thing that is that I don't have an issue with on these being basically what they call graphite or plastic frames compared to aluminum, they're non-metal frame, is they don't have as tight of drags. They're not going to be as used as much force. Well, these aren't as your regular stuff. You're not going to run like this reel. I will run 15-pound and probably the LingL, but like these little reels, I'm only going to run as much as 6-pound to 10, probably 10-pound, but with the drags loose. I'm not going to have a crank down drag. If you're that guy that like, oh, Charlie, I got to crank, I tighten that thing. I actually take the one that's springy and I take that off and I get my pliers and I tighten that nut as tight as I can get it. Or I take it apart and I put super glue in there because I've had a Tatula, trust me. I bought that the brake pads and discs were all super glued together. It was a locked system. If you're that guy, none of these plastic reels are for you, I'm telling you, because yeah, you're just trying to abuse a reel. That drag is meant to slip. And yes, if you're running 15 or 20 and some of those Abus that come with 20-pound drags, and if you're, these reels aren't meant to be for flipping and pitching and running or frogging running 30 to 50-pound braid, and you're wanting to yank stuff out and try to crank on this handle and put that much force. They're just technically really no reel is bass fishing reel. I know some of you guys do it with them nowadays, but that's why you can get away with it. With this reel right here, now the other one's going to get abused. My original one, it's already getting scratched up and everything else from on the inside, from the spool and all that. I added magnets. We heated the magnets. So yeah, it's getting abused, but it's going to work fine. But this reel, we'll see probably just 6-pound leader. Same thing with the Dark Wolf Ultra. It's going on the Zephyr rod. This is going on the Rock and Roll. They should last. They should never wear out because they're not going to get the hard abuse. They're just not. This reel's not going to get. This reel's had hard abuse. If you guys have seen in the video, that spool and this frame are the ones that was doing the in that video you were just watching. If you're watching that series that's out right now, was the one doing the back reeling and all that, which I've since fixed. You can get those for like $3 or $4. Hello.
Are you live?
Yeah, I'm live.
Hey guys.
That's Valencia. What are you guys doing? But anyway, all right, I'm going to end with that. You're not getting married. Get your hand out of there.
It's a frog.
Where'd you get that at? Oh.
You bought it for me.
When?
My mom.
I want it back.
At the tattoo convention.
Oh, that's right.
You remember?
No, I'm 50 years old. I don't remember what happened
Oh,
yesterday.
hell yeah, you are 50.
That was last year.
What the hell?
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here. Stay tuned.